How do you explain, though, to your constituents why it was worth it to put up this fight for so long when in the end you did not hit your key demand?
Because it wasn't working.
Yes, the old government shutdown and the Democrats. Why would 8 Democrats suddenly, out of the blue, vote to agree with Republicans and reopen the government after their prolonged psychotic shutdown? Well, you know. And a very good and happy Monday to you, and welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625. Where are we on this whole government shutdown? The Democrats, well, they're rioting against immigration and customs enforcement in Chicago, violent mobs of criminal Democrats, supported by the mayor and the governor and other elected Democrats. Isn't that amazing? But it's true that 8 Democrats in the United States Senate, I don't think any of them are transgender. They voted since last we convened on Friday to reopen the government. And also, big story from the Blaze over the weekend, former Capitol Police officer, U.S. Capitol Police, they have their own police department, of course, former Capitol Police officer, a forensic match for January 6th pipe bomber. I'm sorry, what? And here's a picture of the lady firing pepper balls at peaceful protesters on January 6th. She's inciting a riot, I think. And we have the name of the woman. And now she works at the CIA. Just a coincidence, where she is, from what I can tell, one of the uniformed security people at the what they call the campus of the CIA in Virginia, not far outside of Washington, D.C. Isn't that amazing? I am telling you. So, listen, I want to get to some of the government shutdown stuff because the Democrats, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, it was the Obamacare bailout shakedown, which was still is, it's not over yet, being perpetrated by the Democrat Party because they want to steal another $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion to bail out Obamacare. And if you don't want to bail it out, then they say you're starving children. Well, they harvest the organs of 1 million children a year, quite literally. But never mind that. Isn't that amazing? Oh, yeah, speaking of Democrats, this is great because Democrats, they love their first this and their first that, right? And a while back, they were very excited to announce the first transgender state legislator. And a story popped over the weekend, if you will. Nation's first trans-identifying state legislator pleads guilty to child sex crimes in the state of Maine, to child sex crimes, because Democrats and child sex crimes go together like carrots and peas. They're just not on the side of the good guys. Yeah, first transgender state lawmaker in history Democrats were so proud of. Isn't that amazing? And then there's another one out of Maine also, because there are a lot of Democrats there these days. Maine woman, right, with manslaughter conviction, elected to Bangor, Maine City Council. Convicted killer, manslaughter, elected to the city council because Democrats are violent and criminally insane, mentally ill, violent, dangerous. You know how they are. Yes, they are. While the mayor of Chicago is demanding that the United Nations come in to prosecute immigration and customs enforcement officers who are enforcing the law as passed by the Congress. But pay no attention to any of that. All right, now let's get to the shutdown ending, because it may be and it may not be, because you can't trust the commies. You know, they're not on our side. The 8 Senate Democratic caucus members who voted to end the shutdown, Politico's headline today. There are few obvious threads connecting the group who broke the partisan impasse. They broke the partisan impasse. That's what they did. And now the impasse, which is partisan, has been broken. Isn't that wonderful? So we've got that going on. And 8 Democrats they're trying to break the gridlock that the Democrats have inflicted on all of us, of course, because they're They're not on our side. I think that's the important thing. But these people, and who are they? They got Senator Dick Durbin, the Democrat senator from Illinois, who's also the minority whip. They love whips and staple guns. They're kind of weird that way. Senator Tim Kaine, the radical Democrat from Virginia, who the Democrats wanted to be vice president at one point. Remember that? Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. She's a Democrat from Nevada. She joined in. Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, Democrat from New Hampshire. Senator Jean Shaheen, the other Democrat from New Hampshire. Angus King, who is technically an independent, but he powwows with the Democrats. He's one of the 8. And as you might expect, Senator John Fetterman from Philadelphia, who it turns out, because of his stroke, I think, is smarter than every other Democrat in the Senate. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. So Fetterman and Angus King and Jean Shaheen and Maggie Hassan and let's not forget Jackie Rosen from Nevada, also from Nevada, 2 senators from Nevada, Cortez Masto and Jackie Rosen. They're among the 8 Democrats. 8 Democrats voted to advance a government shutdown deal. Now, that doesn't mean that it's over and done with, because they're Democrats. They can still sabotage everything, blow it up. It's quite remarkable. Yes, they are. Yes, sir. See, now, what is this, Michael? Blaming mental illness now? They got the... Oh, this is the transgender one. Oh, this is the transgender one. The Nashua, New Hampshire, Stacy Lawton blames mental illness for bomb threat. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this one. This is the transgender bomb threat. And now we've got the child sex crimes. When you're a Democrat all the way, from your first cigarette to your last dying day. Lawton, the state's first transgender lawmaker, was arrested for phoning in a bomb threat to Southern New Hampshire Medical Center. And here's the guy trying to look like a lady with long hair and lipstick, but didn't work very well. Pretty amazing stuff. And now that person is what? That person is now in big trouble because they're all mental. Every Democrat is mental. Yes, sir. So that's pretty crazy. These people. And 8 Democrats voting to stop the Democrat Party government shutdown, which is a psychotic bailout for Obamacare, which was never affordable. Never actually affordable, as the Washington Post confessed not too long ago. Isn't that amazing? You people. Also, a big fun story here in Washington, D.C. that I think is great, and they're very angry about it. The Redskins, who Democrats call the Commanders, I really miss the Redskins helmets. I was talking to my best girl last night. You got a W on the side of the helmet. It looks like a college football helmet that the Redskins play. And the great Native American head with the feathers and stuff, the logo of the Washington Redskins forever, far superior to this college university-looking W they have on their helmet. But a story percolating over the weekend, and they're angry about it in England and elsewhere. BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, has the headline, naming NFL stadium for Trump would be, quote, beautiful, end quote, White House says. Because, we've got this stadium where the Redskins play kind of in the middle of nowhere, although I can see it from my living room, even though it's way, way out. It's high on a hill, and you can see it from far away. And I can see the stadium, and at night it's lit up and a bit, and I can see it at night. Watching the game last night, President Trump was at the game last night. But the old Robert F. Kennedy Stadium, the old, not Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Stadium, but his father, in Washington, D.C., which was home to the Redskins for decades, is now being dismantled, demolished, piece by piece, brick by brick, plank by plank. No explosives, no wrecking ball on a crane. It's being disassembled brick by brick. And they're going to rebuild a new, it's been agreed to, multi-billion-dollar stadium. And the discussion is, should we name it Donald Trump Stadium? It was RFK Stadium, Robert F. Kennedy Stadium, for all those years. How about the Donald Trump Stadium where the Redskins play? maybe no Democrats would go to games, and that'd make everything better. There'd be no crime, no drunks falling off the upper tiers and splatting in front of your children. None of that. That'd be great. But the remark that it would be beautiful to name the stadium after followed an ESPN report that the White House has been discussing the possibility with the owners of the NFL team. The planned $3.7 billion stadium will be built on the site of the old RFK Stadium, which is currently being demolished. And I've got a much better view of the RFK Stadium from my home. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in an email to the BBC that naming it in honor of the president would be fitting. She wrote, "That would be a beautiful name, and it was President Trump who made the rebuilding of the new stadium possible." Now, the unnamed White House official told ESPN over the weekend, it wasn't, it's what the president wants, and it would probably happen. So that's kind of fun. I think it'd be great if it were named the Donald Trump Stadium, because it would be good for the crazy people to make them even crazier, because they're so crazy. Isn't that true? All right, we've got a lot to get to today, but let me get to Scott Bessent yesterday, our Secretary of the Department of Treasury. And I've got to get to the shutdown, the government shutdown, because the Democrats, they got Bernie the Bolshevik Sanders out there lying about it, and they're like, oh, it's the Republicans' fault. And they prove that 8 Democrats come over, and you don't need any more Republicans. And then the government opens, right, or reopens, because the Democrats shut it down. But let's go to soundbite number 1. Scott Bessent was yesterday on ABC's This Week without David Brinkley, but they have this guy George Stephanopolous, who was a Clinton administration, a Clinton White House official, and then they gave him the $25 million a year anchorman job at ABC. And George Stephanopolous think that I've got the gotcha questions for the Treasury Secretary under Donald Trump, Scott Bessent. I'm going to show him. George Stephanopolous is going to show Scott Bessent who's in charge.
You were involved in a lot of these in the 90s, and you basically called the Republicans terrorists, and you said that it is not the responsible party that keeps the government closed. And so what we need is 5 brave, moderate Democratic senators to cross the aisle, because right now it is 52 to 3. 52 to 3. 5 Democrats can cross the aisle and reopen the government. That's the best way to do it, George.
That's the best way to do it. Why don't you guys reopen the government? Well, we keep voting to do just that. The Republicans do in Congress. And by the way, he works in the White House, the administration. George Snuffleupagus, he's a Democrat Party frontman.
I can disagree with you about the history there, but we don't need a history lesson right now.
George, let's talk about
what's happening right now.
If you want, I've got all your quotes here. George.
I'm sure you do.
But
let's talk about the situation right now.
Read your book, so you got one purchase on Amazon this week, and that's very much what you said.
It's a mischaracterization of history, but I do want to talk about right now.
He's lying, and Scott Bessent is having none of it. He's like, Scott Bessent bought his book. It's the only book of your book that sold this week on Amazon. I bought it, and he had it in his hand and highlighted what George Stephanopolous was saying about government shutdowns when he was working for a Democrat Party White House and protecting that gropey McGrope-face president of the United States, Scott Bessent.
What's changed since the spring, George, is Chuck Schumer's poll numbers. He had a clean, continuing resolution in the spring. And why are Democrats doing this now, George? Again, you've been involved with this. Explain what's changed. Senator Chris Murphy gave the game away this week when he said, well, now it's our advantage to keep the government closed. They have turned the American people into pawns.
Pawns, Mongo but pawn in Game of Life. Scott Bessent just handed his coup feed to him. Stephanopolous tried to talk over him and steamroll him, and Scott Bessent was having none of it, taking it to him, holding up the book. I can quote from your own book, which you allege was written by you, and it's what you said. And he's like, well, the history is wrong. And he's holding up the book. I have the book right here. I have the quotes highlighted. Shall I start reading your quotes to you, you lion Sacagawea? Honestly. You know, a recent study, right, revealed that just 1 year after an abortion, women are 50% more likely to need psychiatric treatment and 87% more likely to experience personality or behavioral disorders. And that's not what we call women's health care. It's what Democrats call women's health care. That's actually trauma. But at preborn, women find a real kind of care, the kind that heals. When a woman walks through the front door of one of Preborn's network of clinics across America, she's welcomed with open arms by warm and loving people. She can see her baby through an ultrasound, waving at her and winking at her and making little hand gestures. And she's offered hope-filled choices. If she chooses life, it is her choice, of course. Preborn continues working with her for up to 2 years, providing maternity clothes, diapers, counseling on how to be the mother of a newborn baby, and so much more. Preborn helps care for the whole woman, and it's of course, the precious life growing inside of her. As you think about your year-end donations, your giving at the end of the year, consider the greatest investment that you could ever make, the gift of life. All you have to do is dial pound 250, and when prompted, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or you can go to Al Gore's Amazing Internet and visit preborn.com/plant. That's me, Plante, preborn.com/plant. All of your gifts are, of course, tax deductible, and Preborn has a 5-star rating as a charity. Yes, sir. All right, we've got more government shutdown and crazy Democrats and media coming up.
Mango only pawn in the game of life.
So the Democrats very excited. The nation's first transgender identifying state legislator pleads guilty to child sex crimes. Child sex crimes. The Democrats they're good with this. Now, and here's the guy standing here posing for a picture with Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell, who is, of course, the boyfriend of Fang Fang, the Chinese Communist Party intelligence operative sent to the United States to honeypot Democrat politicians. And this transgender politician, has resigned twice, and the first time was over phoning in the bomb threat. Now we have multiple child sex crimes. And here he is with Pete Buttigieg. They love the child sex crimes, don't they? Like his buddy, the mayor of College Park. Now, Scott Bessent is the Secretary of the Department of Treasury. I believe he's an openly LGBT man. Is that true? He's openly G. He's openly G. He's not L. He's not T. But he's apparently G, and that makes him the highest-ranking openly G man in the history of the United States government. If you were only a Democrat, the Democrat Party would be having parades for him. They'd name awards after him. There'd be lucite blocks that were shaped in his likeness. But he's a smart guy, and he's a no-nonsense guy, and he showed up loaded for bear for his George Stephanopolous interview yesterday on This Week with George Stephanopolous that fewer and fewer people watch every week. But he was there yesterday, and he said, well, you guys, listen, George, I've got your own book here where you smeared people and called them terrible names, terrorists and stuff because of a government shutdown during the Bill Clinton administration. And now you're singing a different tune because you're a crooked Democrat and not a journalist at all. And Scott Bessent said, since we're talking about stuff, and this is the Obamacare bailout government shutdown that you guys are attempting to inflict upon all of us, that'll just cost us another $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion. No big deal. And I got to tell you, but Scott Bessent yesterday, dealing with Stephanopolous.
What I have noticed over time is that the Democrats give all these bills the Orwellian names, the Affordable Care Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and we end up with just the opposite. You know, the Affordable Care Act has become unaffordable, and the Inflation Reduction Act set off the greatest inflation in 50 years.
Well, I'm a little confused.
Well, I'm a little confused. Yes, you are. You're a little confused. And amazing. Now, let me, because the Democrats are very blithely and casually demanding another $1 trillion be added to the national debt just to bail out Obamacare once more, which they, again, as the Treasury Secretary said, Scott Bessent, in an Orwellian-like way, they call it the Affordable Care Act. And it made my health care 4 times as expensive every month, my monthly premiums. My Best Girls health insurance made it 4 times as expensive. So we went from $500 a month, under $600 a month, to $2,600 a month because of what the Democrats called the Affordable Care Act. That's because they're mentally ill and they lie about everything. And by the way, $1 trillion that the Democrats are demanding to bail out Obamacare again, and then in another 6 months, they're going to need another $1 trillion to bail it out again because they're commies and they're pinkos and they lie about everything. But $1 trillion. I like to use this comparison. If we started paying off the national debt today, which we're not doing, but President Trump was talking about it yesterday, about tariffs and bringing in trillions and actually being able to pay down the national debt. Democrats throw rocks at you if you even talk about that, Molotov cocktails. But I like to point out that if we started paying off the national debt at $1 per second, right, $60 per minute, that it would take us more than 1 million years to pay off the national debt. And the Democrats want to add another Schumer and the Democrats to bail out Obamacare, which was never affordable, according to the Washington Post. But if they add $1 trillion more to the national debt, get a load of this, 1 trillion seconds, right? Go back to the $1 per second. 1 trillion seconds is more than 31,700 years. And they very casually, they really don't care at all about us or our national debt or life or death or the United States that they're hostile to. But another $1 trillion added to the national debt by Chuck Schumer, who came to Washington when our national debt was under $1 trillion. Now it's $37.5 trillion. He wants to make it $39 trillion. And again, 1 trillion seconds is 31,709 years. And they don't care. Years, right? And then you break that down to seconds, and that's your Democrat Party. Just put it on my tab, you know? And we're leaving, somebody's kids with this national debt, and it will bankrupt everybody one of these days, but they honestly don't care. All right, now let's go to Democrat Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who voted yesterday with 8 Democrats in the Senate to say, okay, let's end the shutdown and reopen the U.S. government. And this is Democrat Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
This is the beginning to show and fight for Americans across the country. Let me just say this. With the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
Wow. You start working on a budget for 2026? Let me put it this way. Well, why have you guys been holding it up for 14 or 15 votes and paralyzing the country? And the head of the Air Traffic Controllers Association was out there today saying air traffic controllers are more focused on child care than they are on airplane safety. They're more focused on making financial ends meet than they are on making your flight schedule meet. And that's because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. Make no mistake about it. 100% on Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. And I got to say this, Catherine Cortez Masto is not a hero or anything. She voted against opening the government 14 times or 15 times. And then she voted once, well, along with 7 other Democrats, to say, well, let's, it's a procedural vote. Maybe we could move forward on that. And that doesn't make you a hero. Another Democrat, Senator Jean Shaheen. Jean Shaheen is her name. Apparently that's her actual name. And Jean Shaheen also voted on the side of the Angels yesterday.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement. But waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
Waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. Well, that was true 14 votes ago, too, wasn't it? Yes, it was, as we all know. Jean Shaheen. I'm going to have a better outcome. Come on, you want a better outcome? I'll give you a better outcome. Democrats. And Democrat Senator Tim Kaine, who the Democrats said, he'd be a great vice president with Hillary, Diane, Rodham, Clinton. And he also is shaking the stupid out of his boots and trying to vote correctly. Democrat Senator Virginia Tim Kaine.
Do you wish that you would have started looking for this off-ramp sooner? You said that Republicans were never going to change in their position.
I didn't fully understand how dug in they were, again, because I was so focused on the Virginia elections. I wasn't in this discussion on the health care to see how dug in they were.
He was so focused on the Virginia elections, his name was not on the ballot, but he wanted the guy that wants to murder Republicans by shooting them both in the head and letting Hitler live and Pol Pot live, and then wants his children murdered, Jay Jones, the new Attorney General-elect in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Jay Jones, who wants to murder the Republican Speaker of the House, 2 bullets to the head when he only has 2 bullets. Hitler lives, Pol Pot lives, wants his children to die in the arms of their mother, and he wants police officers to be shot and killed because the police are the bad guys. And Tim Kaine, he was too busy getting him elected, right? And the radical Democrat extremist lady who's now the incoming governor. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, he was too focused on the election thing in Virginia, and he was busy getting all the wrong people elected because they're not on our side. Isn't that amazing? Speaking of Abigail Spanberger, they call her Scanberger, Scamberger, because she's a scam artist, and she was on the television yesterday on Sunday with Margaret Brennan of CBS and a TV show they used to call Face the Nation. Margaret Brennan and Abigail Scamberger of Virginia about the government shutdown.
Virginia boasts one of the highest numbers of federal workers in the country, and as you know, many of them are not getting paid. Some in your party look at your election on Tuesday and the win in New Jersey and say that is permission to hold the line in Congress and refuse to fund the government or fold on the shutdown. Should congressional Democrats view your victory that way?
Hold the line.
Absolutely not. Virginians need to, and Virginians want to see the government reopen. And my expectation is that we will see a Congress, a Senate, and ultimately a president driving us in that direction.
Yes. I'm sorry. What was all that? So, no, it should not be a green light to keep the government shut down. She said, I think that's the right call for a right response for a governor who doesn't have a vote on Capitol Hill. And I like Margaret Brennan that Virginia boasts, it's something you boast, more government employees because Washington, D.C. is right here. And it boasts, something I'm very proud of. We have more government employees, people on the government payroll. And should you hold the line? Hold the line is a positive turn of phrase. Hold the line, that means, and we also had Tim Kaine there. Oh, I didn't realize how dug in the Republicans were. Well, I know you guys lie about everything every time you talk, but every time any Republican off of Capitol Hill, the Speaker of the House, we have the Speaker of the House for you today, too, on the government shutdown, and John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, they tell you the truth. They're not lying sacks like you guys are. And when they tell you And also they showed that they were voting to open the government time and time again, while you were voting to shut it down time and time again. Tim Kaine voted to shut it down time and time again, and isn't that just fine? And Jeanne Shaheen voted to shut it down again and again. And Democrat Senator Catherine Cortez Masto voted to shut it down again and again. You people, honestly, what do we have penitentiaries for when all these people are running loose? Then it's, the Obamacare bailout. Margaret Brennan on Face the Meat was talking to Virginia Democrat Governor-elect Abigail Schamberger.
But should congressional Democrats open the government and then talk about health care?
The government needs to open, and it needs to open immediately. We need the president to demonstrate leadership, bringing people together.
It's Trump's fault that the Democrats won't vote for the bill that they voted for again and again in the past. And Margaret Brennan doesn't come armed with the appropriate framing of the question, doesn't take it to the Democrat, because she's a Democrat too, and a fluffer for the Democrat Party, Schamberger.
The government needs to reopen because in addition to the pain that we are already seeing,
but 8 Democrats could cross the aisle and do so.
Facing.
There it is.
We absolutely need everyone to vote to open the government.
See, she's in Virginia, not in Washington. It's just across the mighty Potomac River. Chuck Schumer, who is the driving force behind this government shutdown and has been from the very beginning. He is the Lizard King, of course. Everyone knows him as the Lizard King. And he's a horrible liar and a crook. And again, he just wants to add, another 31,000 years of payments onto our national debt. No big deal. By adding another $1 trillion and a half dollars. And this is all his fault. It's all on him. And it's reportedly because he's afraid that AOC is going to run against him in the Democrat Party primary and that she will win because of her caboose. And that's all the Democrats care about is the rest. Chuck Schumer over the weekend, this is yesterday, and he's out of his mind.
Let me be clear. However this vote turns out, this fight will and must continue.
Continue.
Democrats must fight because of millions of families will lose health care coverage. We must fight.
You shut them down.
Because children who are dying of cancer will not get health care coverage.
Where's
we
Cancer
must fight
Boy?
Because a senior citizen cannot afford to pay $25,000 a year just for health insurance. We must fight to keep millions from financial ruin. And make no mistake about it.
You shut it down.
The American people know who is inflicting this health care trauma on them.
You did.
Donald Trump and the Republicans.
Right, and that's why every Republican voted to keep it going except for Rand Paul. All the way, they passed it through the Republican-controlled House. Every Republican except Rand Paul in the Senate voted for it, still giving the Republicans more than 50. And you orchestrated the shutdown. You are such a hooah. That's a New York term. You are such a hooah and such a liar and such a charlatan and such a fraud that he should share an apartment with the Reverend Al Charlatan. Aren't they amazing? From hosting holiday get-togethers to unforgettable gifts, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. And right now, during their Sizzle All the Way sale, you can save 50% off the entire website at the beautiful, wonderful omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners, that's you, get another $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. That's Plante. Listen, you know that my best girl and I, we love the filet mignons from Omaha Steaks. We cook them up in my grandfather's iron skillet and make them beautiful. Little char crust around the edges, beautiful pink on the inside. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. Now, listen, they also carry mouth-watering burgers and chicken and pork and seafood and even really great desserts, too. Right now, you save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. All you have to do is visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off the entire website, site-wide, during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And that's, at omahasteaks.com with the promo code PLANT. That's me. Terms apply. See the site for details. Yes, sir. All right, more ridiculous. And Schumer, he just lies all the way. Jingle, jingle all the way. He just lies all the way. All right, and back to the telephones once again. We have more wackiness. And was it a U.S. Capitol police officer that left 2 pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC headquarters the day before January 6th? I've got that coming up. We have a suspect, and she's going to have to answer some questions, I think. In the meantime, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jay, calling from, just outside of Bayonne, New Jersey. J-Mobile, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, hey, Chris.
Hey, Jay.
The government shutdown, Democrats proved to be so impotent and weak with their so-called leverage, which makes us wonder what they're going to be, without their leverage, because they shut down the government for, 40 days. Americans went starving, military went without their pay, and they said over and over again that they want to use this as leverage, and they want to shut down the government so that, they want to win elections, and that's clearly what happened. It's like what happened with, the Strategic National Reserve before the midterm elections. You remember that, Chris, when they emptied out our strategic reserve for, that's meant for war and for emergencies, and they used it to boost up Democrats in the midterms to make gas prices go lower. So they use government shutdowns the same way they use the Strategic National Reserve, but I don't believe it's necessary because, Democrats want to vote for Jay Jones. They want to vote for people that want to kill children. 1.7 million Virginians voted for the guy who wanted to kill children. So they effectively voted en masse in favor of killing kids.
Yeah, well, which they do quite frequently. And the Republican speaker, yeah.